After defining a consumer's budget constraint, we needed to know something about her tastes in order to determine which bundle she'll buy if she in fact does the best she can, given her circumstances. For producers, we've now also defined the constraint, the production frontier, which forms the producer choice set. We now need to ask, what are the producer's tastes that will help us decide which production plan in fact is the best production plan if the producer does the best he can given his economic circumstances. But producers are a little simpler than consumers because their tastes are transparent. They seek profit, and so higher profits are more desirable. As we think about modeling the producer's indifference curves, we therefore simply have to think about profit and ask which production plans will in fact offer similar or equal profit. Those production plans will lie on the same indifference curve. Consider, for instance, production plan A, where we're planning to use 20 hours of labor to produce 120 packets of economist cards. Now suppose that an hour of labor costs $20 and that you can sell economist cards for $5 a packet. In that case, if we're able to produce according to this production plan, we'll incur costs of 20 hours of labor times the wage of $20 per hour, which is $400. We'll get revenues of 120 economist card packets times 5, the price of a packet. 120 times 5 is 600. So we have revenues of 600 and costs of 400, so we make a profit of 200 if we implement production plan A, and the wage is $20 per hour, and economist card packets sell for $5 a packet. Next, consider production plan B, where we're using 60 hours of labor to produce 280 packets of economist cards. With a wage of $20 per hour, 60 hours of labor cost $1,200, and at an output price of $5 per packet, we can sell 280 packets at $1,400. Thus we have revenues of $1,400 and costs of $1,200 for a profit of $200. Our profit at production plan B is therefore the same as our profit at production plan A, and a profit maximizing producer would therefore be indifferent between producing production plan A or B. Or consider production plan C, where we're planning to use no labor to produce 40 units of output. No labor costs us nothing, and 40 units of output at $5 per unit will raise $200 of revenues. So the production plan C also gets us a profit of $200. Now you might object and say that the basic laws of physics won't allow us to produce something from nothing, and you are certainly correct. But just as for consumers we have tastes over bundles that aren't affordable, for producers we have tastes over production plans that aren't technologically feasible. If a producer could implement production plan C, he'd make $200 in profit just as he would at production plans A and B, and he would therefore be indifferent between all three of them. In fact, at the wage of $20 and an output price of $5, all the production plans that result in $200 of profit will lie on the line that connects bundles A, B, and C. Rather than using the term indifference curve, we use the term isoprofit for producers. This blue line, for instance, is the isoprofit line that corresponds to all production plans that result in $200 of profit when the wage is equal to $20 per hour and the output price is equal to $5. When there are no costs, in other words, when we hire no labor, as in production plan C, profit is equal to revenue, and revenue is equal to price times output. So if we have the equation profit is equal to price times output, we can divide both sides by price and get the equation profit divided by price is equal to output. That's why the vertical intercept of the isoprofit line is equal to profit divided by price. for the isoprofit line that corresponds to $200 in profit, the vertical intercept therefore must be 40, because profit is equal to 200, the output price is $5, so the vertical intercept must be 200 divided by 5. Now suppose we start at some production plan like production plan A that lies on this blue isoprofit line, and we then ask which production plan will also lie on this line but will contain one additional hour of labor. One additional hour of labor costs $20. In order for profit to remain constant, it must therefore be that the new production plan makes up for that additional cost by having $20 more in revenues. And we know we can generate $20 more in revenues by selling 4 packets of economist cards at $5 apiece. Thus, if we go over by 1 hour of labor, we must go up by 4 economist cards in order to keep profit constant. In other words, the slope of this isoprofit line must be equal to 4. This is because in general the slope of isoprofit lines is equal to the wage divided by the price. The wage in our case is 20, the price is 5, so the slope is 20 divided by 5. Now, just as there isn't just one indifference curve that represents a consumer's tastes, but rather an entire map of indifference curves, so there isn't just one isoprofit line that represents a producer's tastes. Rather, there will be a whole map of isoprofit lines, each corresponding to a different level of profit. In panel B, we begin by redrawing the isoprofit line that corresponds to a profit of $200, assuming that the wage is $20 and the output price is $5. The isoprofit line corresponding to $700 in profit, for instance, has to have a vertical intercept that's equal to profit divided by price, just as we illustrated in panel A. Profit of $700 divided by a price of 5 gives us an intercept of $140. The slope of the isoprofit line has to remain the same as the blue slope because it's still equal to wage divided by price. So we get a parallel isoprofit line that corresponds to a higher level of profit and lies to the northwest of the original blue isoprofit line. If costs are larger than revenues, profit could be negative. In this green isoprofit line, for instance, profit is equal to minus 300. That leads to a vertical intercept of minus 60. Because the vertical intercept is profit divided by price, if the profit is minus 300 and we divide it by the price of 5, we get minus 60. Again, we of course have the same slope, because the slope is equal to W divided by P. The map of indifference curves for a producer as a price taker is therefore a map of straight lines, where the slope of each line is equal to wage divided by price, and the intercept of a particular isoprofit line is the profit that's associated with that line divided by the output price. Now notice something curious. With consumers, prices had nothing to do with indifference curves, because indifference curves represented the internal tastes to the consumer. Here, however, we're mapping tastes for producers who desire profit, and profit has a lot to do with prices. Therefore, prices, both in the input market and the output market, shape the indifference curves for producers in a way that they didn't do for consumers. And, as we'll see in the next graph, this implies that as prices change, the indifference curves for producers change.